This is Retirement Keys with Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Anthony provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Keys with your host, Anthony Congemi.
Hello and welcome to Retirement Keys. My name's Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement Group, and I have my fabulous co-host with me today, Tony Shore. We really appreciate you tuning in, and we're looking forward to another great show today. Tony, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Anthony. It's great to be here with you. Good to see you again. I always love hanging out with you, and we have fun doing the show. I've had a crazy busy week again. The week before was kind of nice, had a little time off, but this past week, back at it. How about you, Anthony? How have you been?
Well, we've been good, Tony. I don't know. We just got off the, last week we had that scare with Tropical Storm Barry, who made landfall in South Louisiana, and we had a lot of, but I tell you, it ended up working out better than we had anticipated. It was wet though; it was a wet storm, and then of course, people from the lower lying parishes, they certainly got more of the, flooding and that sort of thing. I tell you, living in South Louisiana and these coastal areas, Tony, any type of storm coming through can really, raise water levels, obviously, and can create a lot of flooding. So, our area dealt with that just recently. And but we're certainly back in the studio today, Tony, and we really but we're dealing with that in the last week or so, so that was a challenge for a lot of folks down here.
Oh yeah, for sure. And but in a way it was a blessing that it wasn't worse. I know they were worried that it would be worse, but we made it out okay. So what are we talking about today, Anthony?
Well, Tony, today we're going to be discussing some of the rumors that surround retirement and why you should ignore them if you want to actually reach your retirement dreams. As you know, in our retirement plans, we focus on 5 key areas, and those retirement keys, in our view, are estate planning, healthcare planning, and investment strategy, income planning, and tax strategies. And we really firmly believe that if you've addressed those 5 key areas in your retirement plan, you've got a pretty well thought out plan. And so that's what we hope, Tony, to be able to provide to our clients and also be able to provide on the show, is to give our listeners insight into those 5 keys, if you will.
Well, yeah, and that's what makes it great. This is a good show, very informative, and it's stuff we need to hear for retirement. Those 5 keys are really important to have those down. And I know, Anthony, you have a book, The 5 Keys to Retirement. I know if our listeners can meet with you, there's no cost or obligation, and you'll get them a copy of your book there, or it's available on Amazon. So that's awesome as well. And this is going to be a good one. Now, we hear a lot of ideas surrounding retirement, but it helps to be able to sift through the bad and keep the good advice. There are a lot of rumors and myths out there that we need to watch out for.
Well, one of the rumors, Tony, that really gets to me is when people say you need such and such amount of money to retire.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's, people just have a figure in their head. They could say, well, we need $500,000 to retire, or we need $1 million, or we need $2 million, or we need $4 million. People have these numbers that, they have come up with over the years. And we've heard people throw out numbers like that as their magic number, if you will. And regardless of the number you've heard, it isn't accurate and revolves around an ambiguous formula that is supposed to scare you into saving and investing more. Now, don't get me wrong. You need to have money in retirement, a good bit of money, but it's just not as simple as choosing some arbitrary number and then quitting as soon as you reach the number.
Right.
Besides, retirement is also about a lot more than just the size of your portfolio. Some other things that are important is your retirement income, how much you will be able to get from your pension, Social Security, any annuities you may have, bond ladders, all those structured income vehicles. On top of that, you have to factor in how much you plan on spending in retirement. You can't plan for retirement properly if you don't have a solid idea on how much you'll be spending in your golden years. If you meet with a trusted retirement planner or financial advisor, they'll be able to help you create a comprehensive plan that will put all the personal financial details into the equation. And this way, you'll have at least a target you can consciously shoot for. The two, I would say, fundamental questions that anyone needs to ask themselves as it relates to retirement income planning is, when do you see yourself retiring? And it might be a year away for some folks. It might be 5 years away. It might be 10 years away. But having an idea, a time frame, that obviously is going to be important. The time value of money, being able to calculate future income, future growth rate on investments that are going to be earmarked for retirement. So this time frame is important. And then the other piece of it is how much income we think we're going to need in retirement. So we can do the math, we can do the tax, we can look at the federal and state tax and the Medicare costs or the health care costs or the drug plan cost, to get to that net number, because typically people that are working, have their federal and state taxes paid, they have their health insurance paid, so they're working off this net number that's coming into the household. And so trying to get a really good, accurate idea as to how much income we think we're going to need in retirement, and then when. And that's really the two fundamental questions that we can really start carving out that retirement income plan.
Yeah, and that's huge. Well, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's going to need a different amount. So that was a great one. Now,
that's right.
Yeah. Give us another example of a rumor to ignore.
Sure, Tony. So I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but that idea of everything will work out fine when it comes to your retirement is not a very helpful approach to have. I'm not trying to instill any type of fear into anyone, but in the article called "How Many Americans Are Saving for Retirement and How Many of Them Should Be," Forbes reported last year that roughly 45% of all working-aged households have no retirement savings, 45%. There's something to be said about such a large percentage of people having no savings, whether it's because they opt out of their employer-sponsored plan, like their 401k plan, or they just don't bother thinking that everything will be okay. It's worrisome decision.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind it doesn't make much sense either. If you aren't planning for retirement, why would you think your dream retirement would just fall into place, right? So when you don't make your retirement a priority, you're setting yourself up for failure down the road. But I'm a glass half full kind of person, you might be thinking. And it's good to put positive spins on things, but you always have to be realistic. You can't just expect your retirement plan to create itself. Planning ahead never hurts anyone, and your success down the road is determined by the steps you take today. And that's really so important, Tony. And I would just say, back to the whole, income planning thing and how much money you should have in retirement. As I say, it is an arbitrary number. And the thing is, there are pieces to the puzzle. There are Social Security structure, there's pension, there's defined benefit plans, there's annuities, there's bond ladders. There's ways to carve out these pieces to really structure that income that we're looking for in retirement. We could be very accurate about what our income's going to look like in retirement. And so, just having this approach of, well, I'm going to be saving and I'm going to be putting in and my company's going to match and then I'm going to retire and then I'm going to start Social Security and start drawing down on my 401k without any real distribution strategy to see how we maximize things, you could really be leaving a lot of opportunities on the table to really have that successful retirement plan that you hope for. That's one of the things, Tony, in our retirement planning and our compass. It's like a GPS to retirement income planning, but it puts together all of those pieces: your Social Security strategy, your pension strategy, your annuity strategy, your bond ladder strategy, your dividend stock portfolio, and it structures everything in a way to really maximize those pieces. And of course, we run everything to age 100. So we want to know that our plan's going to run using extremely conservative projections. So that's really just crunching numbers, Tony, a distribution strategy. And I would just encourage our listeners, the people that are tuning in, as I mentioned, there's 5 key areas to a retirement plan: estate and legacy, healthcare, investments, income, and taxes. But that income planning piece, that's really the foundational piece, And if you are listening and you don't have a formal retirement plan, I'd encourage you to take advantage of this special offer. You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Kangemi of Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering a complimentary gourmet dinner and retirement planning workshop, the 5 keys to a stress-free retirement. This is one workshop you won't want to miss. Call in the next 20 minutes for this no-cost offer. Seating is limited. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Keys to Retirement Radio with our host, Anthony Kangemi, and myself, your co-host, Tony Shore. Now, Anthony, great show so far. You're talking about retirement rumors that we need to ignore. And in the first segment of the show, you talked about how there's no one magic number when it comes to retirement. There's no one magic amount that works for everybody that you need to save. And the old everything's going to work out fine mentality, that isn't going to get you to the retirement you've been dreaming of and hoping for. So tell us about another rumor that you've heard or that you've seen out there regarding retirement.
Sure, Tony. Another rumor that I'd like to address is that the rules of thumb surrounding retirement planning work best when it comes to planning for your retirement. I can't tell you how many people I've met with over the years that have preconceived notions about retirement topics, like the idea that in order to receive higher returns, you must invest aggressively. When I ask them why they feel that way, they usually respond with something about it being conventional wisdom or the general rule of thumb that they'd heard over time. I'm not exactly sure why any financial advice that people have heard tends to stick like glue. That would be like hearing a singing tip from Kanye West and treating it like gospel. There are rules out there that have become well known because they have worked for people in the past, but they aren't universal. Rules that suggest things like using your age as the percentage of bonds in a portfolio or using the rule of 4 as a withdrawal strategy aren't always the best ways to align your financial strategies with your financial goals for retirement. I would also recommend that before you start relying on rules of thumb for your financial plans, you should sit down with a financial professional, and specifically a retirement counselor, somebody that deals with retirement planning, and determine whether or not those rules apply to your unique situation. And I would just encourage you, for the financial planner that you're working with, by all means, there are different specialties in the financial planning world, obviously, just like in any other profession and in industry. And so working with a financial planner that does specifically work in the retirement planning arena. And one of the things that I think is a good, we actually have, the 10 questions you should ask your retirement planner, which we'd love to send out to you. I think they're very thoughtful questions. But one of the things is to ask if you could give me a copy of a sample retirement plan that you provide to your clients. I think that's important. I mean,
that's
if you were good. Yeah, I mean, let's look at the plan. Look at the components. Now, certainly the plan's not going to have specific data to your retirement, but at least you'll see the components. Hey, under estate and legacy planning, this is what they recommend. This is the types of tools they use. Under income planning, this is how they structure Social Security. This is how they build in our portfolio. This is how much income. This is how they calculate their taxes and Medicare and long-term care and all the pieces. What are the pieces of the retirement plan? And to get that sample plan, if you will, it would be just like, shopping for a new home and maybe looking at a model home. Certainly it's not going to be the home that you're going to purchase, but at least you have a sense of, what kind of construction, what do they use inside of the home, what type of appliances, what are the pieces to the puzzle? And I would just say, the number one thing I would encourage anyone here listening, and for us included, I mean, please, when you call in and schedule a time to visit with us, the first thing you should ask is, give me a copy of your plan, the plans that y'all put together. I want to see the components of that plan. I would encourage you to not only ask us that question, but anyone that you decide to work with on your retirement planning. Get a copy and a sample of that plan.
Yeah, see, that's great advice, and that's huge. So what would you say is another rumor that you'd recommend we steer clear of when it comes to retirement?
Yeah, so another popular rumor I've hear a lot is people saying that they don't earn enough money to retire.
Yeah.
While there are plenty of people living in poverty out there that legitimately aren't able to save for retirement, there are far too many average wage or earning Americans that are using their income as an excuse to not save for retirement. Even if you're only able to start with squirreling away 3%, nearly everyone who earns an average income can afford to save for their retirement.
Yep.
Some people might say that they're living from paycheck to paycheck, so they assume that they can't afford to put any money toward their retirement savings. Or some will even say that their small savings efforts won't amount to much. Either way, both of those mentalities are the wrong approach to retirement saving, because almost everyone can be saving for retirement. And retirement doesn't depend upon your career or status anyway. We've all heard stories about janitors or gas station attendants who've had millions in their investment portfolio. Job title and salary don't mean as much as being smart with your money and proactive with your retirement planning. So, a little bit consistently, Tony, goes a long way. And we can chip away. It's kind of like, how did the ant, devour the lion, or the elephant, actually? How did the ant devour the elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
And that's the same with retirement. It's one little bite at a time, one little deposit at a time, over time, compounding, and the magic of that compounding of interest. And it's actually triple compounding, as you know, Tony, interest on interest, interest on principal,
Yep.
and interest on the interest that you would have paid in taxes. So it's really, the magic of that compounding of interest is huge. And that's exactly what these retirement plans, your IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, thrift savings plans, depending on what type of retirement plan you have, that's exactly what it offers, that triple compounding. So I would just encourage you, if you don't have a formal retirement plan and you would like to see what one looks like or like to see where you stand, by all means, give our office a call and take advantage of this offer. You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Kangemi with Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering our 3-step retirement planning process at no cost and a $100 gift card to the restaurant of your choice upon completion of the planning process. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Retirement Keys with our host, Anthony Kangemi, and myself, your co-host, Tony Shore. And we're talking about retirement rumors to ignore, things you don't want to do. And there's a lot of them out there. People think they have advice because they've heard it from a friend who's heard it from a friend, and it just gets passed around. And there are a lot of rumors surrounding retirement. And rumors like you talked about reaching a magic number means you're set for retirement. There is no magic number. Everybody's different. And then the idea that everything's going to work out fine even if I don't plan properly. That's a bad one. Another bad rumor is that rules of thumb work best. A lot of rules of thumb regarding retirement planning out there. You got to watch that. Just relying on those isn't going to be enough and probably won't apply to your particular situation. And then, Anthony, you talked about people saying they don't make enough money to save for retirement. With a little discipline, they probably could. Most people can save at least some for retirement. What's another example of a retirement rumor we should be avoiding?
Well, another one that I've heard over the years is that people don't prioritize retirement savings because they believe that they're going to die young regardless. And no one can predict the future, at least that I know of, yet so many people believe that they know when they're going to die. Whether they actually believe that or just use it as an excuse to not save, of course, we don't know. I'm sure family history can give you a little bit of an estimate to go off of, but no one knows for sure how long they're going to be around, especially given all the medical advancements in the last few decades that are helping to increase lifespans. Plus, it's always better to plan for longer than expected rather than not planning properly and living way longer than expected without the finances to support you.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned earlier, Tony, with the Compass, with our GPS retirement income plan, we run everything to age 100. And, you know, what I can tell you is so many times, probably more than 50% of the time, when people look at their retirement income plans from us, they will say, well, we're not going to live to 100. You know, why are you planning to 100? And, you know, what I would say is, you know, we are conservative by nature in our planning estimates, but we want to know, you know, we know that people are living longer. We have clients in their 90s, and we know people are living longer, and we want to plan for that. We also know that there's going to be a loss of income due to the death of a spouse. So the surviving spouse is important to incorporate. How long is the surviving spouse going to live, and what is the loss of income going to be for the surviving spouse? So it's all of these things, Tony, that we want to run to age 100. We want to know our numbers are good to 100 because we want to have a buffer as well. We want to make sure we have enough for the surviving spouse. We want to have a balance at the end. We want to pass money on to our heirs.
Yeah.
So so it's all of those things. The other thing is, what if there's unexpected health care costs?
Oh,
that's why we want to
that's a
build
big
in a
one.
health care plan. That's a big one. You know, so it really is, having a carved out plan, having taxes in place, to know what's, reasonably, we can't, obviously be to the penny because we don't know exactly what the tax rates are going to be at the time of retirement, but to have a reasonable understanding of what federal and state taxes are going to be, a reasonable understanding of what Medicare costs are going to be, or, health care costs or prescription drug costs or other health care like long-term care costs, having all that factored in, having that surviving spouse, that loss of income, so we can have a reasonable understanding of what type of income we'll need to replace if we lose a spouse. All of those things, Tony, what we're going to pass on to our kids and grandkids, what's the best way to pass on to the kids and grandkids for their tax liabilities. All of those things are put into one plan, Tony, one plan under the 5 keys of an estate and legacy plan, a health care plan, an investment strategy, an income plan, and tax strategy. And it's those 5 key areas, Tony, that I think are important. I think that we can encompass 95%, if not close to 100% of the needs of our clients by just addressing in one form or fashion those 5 key elements.
Yeah.
And that's really going to be key, Tony. That's going to be the key to a well thought out plan. And what I would encourage you as listening today is to just give our office a call and say, hey, I heard Anthony and Tony on the radio. I want to come and get a copy of y'all's, plan. I want to see what the plan looks like, the retirement. We want to offer you that. We also do retirement workshops. The next one will be in August. I think the first week of August at Austin's Restaurant in Metairie. So you can come out. Just give our office a call at 504-828-2171. Ask for Katie. She'll register you for the retirement workshop. It's complimentary. Have a nice meal. And go through the workshop to see exactly what our plan consists of in more of a group setting if you'd like, or give our office a call and come in, and we'll be happy to review the plan with you right here in the office. So we really appreciate you tuning in and listening every Sunday. I love, at our workshops, many times I'll ask, how many people are here from the radio, and a lot of hands go up. And so it's really nice meeting the folks that listen to us on the radio to really, shake somebody's hand and kind of put a hear from folks that listen to us on Sundays. So we really appreciate you tuning in, and I want to give you that offer because I really think that it'll go a long way in helping you build out your plan. It's going to be so important to have a plan in place. So take advantage of our offer.
Thank you for listening to Retirement Keys. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, please contact Anthony Congemi at Crescent City Retirement Group. Call 504-828-2171 or visit the website at crescentcityretirement.com. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Anthony Congemi and Crescent City Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.